All right. Okay, let's start. What's up, guys? My name is Maybelline, and I'm so
Hello.
happy to be here with you. I have here with me Petrina. Hi,
Hi.
Petrina.
Hello, Maybelline.
Hello,
Oh, so excited
hello.
to see your face again.
Oh, me too, man. So this is Fire
Yeah.
Chat with Petrina. We are doing It's a She Thing. This is a one-day virtual event in conjunction with International Women's Day. And today I am so excited, Petrina. Petrina, she used to be a freelance writer. I mean, once a writer, always a writer lah kan. But what I really know about Petrina as a person is that she loves colors. She's always having like colorful hair, and like baju is always colorful, and she has this like infectious energy. Every time I see her, whether it's like at a party or she comes for dancing, she always gives 100%. I take so much energy from her, and I want to give her back so much. So I'm so excited to have this chat with you today. Katrina, tell us, how
Thanks.
are you? How are you?
I am doing really good. I think this is like the longest I've stayed in nature outdoors. It's been like a year now of just being in the wild. So yeah, that's really good for in general mental health. I don't know. Yeah.
Can you tell
having all
us
this
where
space.
you're at?
So now I'm in Colombia, somewhere in the north, in the mountains, somewhere called, the area is called La Ponderosa. And yeah, I met this bunch of people that I really like, and they ended up just asking me to live with them in the mountains. And I was like, cool. So I came here. And then I haven't left. Probably the longest I've stayed in one place in all of my travels. Yeah.
And because before that, you would like shift places to places?
Yeah. Before that, I around a lot because the whole travel around South America. And so yeah, I would probably stay in a place maybe like 2 weeks to a month. And then now I've been here in this spot like 7 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Very important question. South American boys.
Yes.
Are they hot? No.
Some. So I think the hot ones you have in mind are usually the Brazilians. Brazilians quite hot. Argentinians are also quite hot. They are usually taller, tattoos, long hair, they travel around, yeah, that sort of thing. Venezuelans can also be quite hot. Those are the top 3 that you imagine in your head of the like ideal Spanish man.
I see. Yeah, sounds like my jam for sure. Okay.
Yeah, and they love dancing. Oh, they would love dancing. You would love dancing with them.
I should be there with you. What am I
100%.
doing here? Like, bye, Babel Dance. Speaking of
the borders
dancing,
are open.
Right? Do you miss dancing with us?
Oh, every time I watch your videos, I wish I was there. Sometimes I can't even watch it because I'm like, oh, I'm so sad that I'm not there. So yes, I miss your classes so much. I think that was like a necessity for me when I was around and I used to go to your classes. Those were my highlights every day. At the end of the day, I'm like, I'll get to go to this class. Yeah.
Oh man. Do you think like that?
And then so now also.
Yeah, sorry, continue.
Like now, whenever I do find myself dancing at a party or on the beach or whatever, I notice now that my movements are just so boring because it's techno music or whatever, where you don't really put in that much groove, or feel like I've lost a lot of that in comparison to when I can recall going to your classes. Even when I go to parties, my dancing is a bit more all over the place. But yeah, so yeah.
Oh man, but to me, like, as long as you dance with like all your heart and soul, which you do, and that's all that matters. Really. Yeah. So tell us about like a typical day. What's your like, how is a day in Petrina's life right now?
So here I unexpectedly, well, not really, but sort of ended up being a chef. Because yes, so when I came up here, they actually did already have a cook, but I didn't like her cooking because it was quite same-ish every day, like rice and beans. And I was just like, if I'm gonna stay here, I want better food, so why don't
Mm.
I take over the kitchen? And they were
Mm.
like, oh yeah, that's fantastic. So yeah, my daily tasks is usually breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 5 days a
Mhm.
week. So I'll wake up at like 5:30 in the morning, take a cold shower, get stuck in, start cooking breakfast,
Mm.
and then yeah. It's definitely the most cooking I've done in my life. I've also never cooked for so many people before, but
How many
usually for
people?
lunch, because we have to cook, it depends. It's up and down, but for lunch is usually the most because we have the volunteers and also some of the workers. So sometimes
Mm.
on an average day, I would need to cook per meal like 12, 13
Oh,
people,
wow.
which for me is quite a lot because I'm used to
Mm.
cooking for one to
Right.
four. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've gotten the hang of it now, so it's good. Mm.
Nice. I
And the one
said,
thing that made me realize I can't cook in this kitchen is because I saw that they had sesame oil, and that to me is like, oh, these
oh,
people have like all these Asian ingredients,
yeah. Oh, you're
a lot of
stuck.
soy sauce and fish sauce, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Oh,
Mm.
wow. So I recently saw that you
Finally.
were cooking a
Mm.
Chinese New Year reunion dinner, right?
Oh yeah.
Tell
Yes.
me about that. Like, what did that meant to you?
So that one, honestly, when I brought it up, I didn't really mean anything with it. I was just like, oh, Chinese New Year's coming up in a couple of
Mm.
weeks. And what touched me the most is that they were immediately, oh, do you celebrate it back home? And I was like, yeah, definitely. And then they said, then we should celebrate it as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all their idea, really. And then I had to do all the cooking,
Mm.
which is fine. And it was a bit stressful, but I was happy to do that. But they took on the bulk of the load of planning for the party because we're located like up the mountains. You got to cross a couple of rivers to get here. We've never had this many people here before because the place is still in construction. But yeah, they managed to get all the food that I wanted to cook, had to buy mattresses and sheets and everything, put them on mules
Mm.
to get the mules to bring them over. And
Right.
yeah, so it's just a whole lot of planning, which they were very happily willing to do that for me because I celebrated it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was just like, I've landed myself in the right family over
Oh,
here. So I was like, yeah, I
that's
know.
so
Yeah,
nice.
there's then we got to, I think maybe like 15 people. We had
Yeah.
15 people in total.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, got to introduce them to Yisang, which they were very excited about.
Yeah.
One guy, Stefan, he downloaded just like Chinese playlists. I've never listened to so many Chinese New Year songs in a
Wow, that's
row.
like a full-on celebration.
Full on. Yeah.
Wow.
And then he seems to really love the Chinese New Year playlist. Even last night, he was banging it out on the speaker. And so yeah,
That's
it's
good.
nice to celebrate all of these Malaysian celebrations. And I realized I
Yeah.
actually don't even know that much about our own celebrations because we don't go into the details of it, of why we do this or that.
Mm.
But then over
Mm.
here, I had to read up about it so that I can explain to people of just like,
Mm.
oh, this dish means that and that means that and la la la. So
Mm. Mm. Mm.
yeah, it was good.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes we have to like take ourselves out of like our comfortable situation. Like I remember the same thing as well when I went to a dance camp in Germany. And same thing, I started
Mm.
thinking like, what can I share with other people that is part of our culture? Because I was seeing this
Yeah.
Indonesian girl, and she was teaching apa tu? Shit, I suddenly can't remember the dance. It's an Indonesian like a dance, and then she was teaching it to a Japanese girl, and they didn't need to like communicate with language, and they just like taught
Oh,
each other moves, and I was like, wow,
wow.
that's such a great cultural exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you start like questioning like, oh, what is your identity as a Malaysian, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Because I realized, yeah, now when I was younger, I didn't really like feel proud about Malaysia that much. But then now it's just like there's so many things that we have that is so unique, and then we
Yeah.
don't know enough to share. And to me, it's just
Yeah.
need to learn more about our country.
Yeah, because
Mm.
we kind of take for granted because it
Yeah.
happens every year, right? We're like, yeah, okay, when this happens, yeah,
Yeah.
he sang. Okay, yeah, you did this honey thing, but actually it means something. Like every ingredient means something.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. There's
Mm.
so much depth and significance to everything that we do, and then we don't know. And then when we explain it to people, they're like, oh, that's so interesting. So yeah. Did you find out how Malaysians, did you manage to come up with a Malaysian type dance that you could share?
Unfortunately, but I mean, of course I found out, but it's just that I have not went for or deep knowledge from it, so I don't feel like I was able to share. But that has definitely made me question about my identity as a dancer. And I mean, just real talk, I haven't done anything, but it is on my list to learn. So to end the you know. But I have a kind of a dilemma because there is Malay. Like, I don't think we don't have like a Chinese Malaysian. It's always either Chinese or Malay.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, and I didn't learn it when I was a kid, but that's not an excuse. But anyway, speaking of childhood, how's like a 5-year-old Petrina like? How's a 10-year-old Petrina like? Yeah, how were you?
I think I have changed quite a lot throughout the years. So when I was really young, I was super sociable. Like, apparently I would just go into people's houses and ask them for sweet stuff. Just shameless. Then as I grew older, then I became really inward and super quiet. So during maybe once like 7 onwards until I was 16 or whatever, I was that memorable. Like, you could easily forget that I'm there. So quiet. Just one of those like self-esteem. I only got my period when I was like 16. Can you imagine how late my body blossomed, like whatever. So, you know, going all those years of just being flat-chested and just like not feeling myself and just so it's just the usual teenage struggles. And then I think maybe only when I was 18 onwards, and I started to be more comfortable in my skin. And then now I'm there mostly. Sometimes mostly.
Right.
Yeah, I think very different. If every time I think back on myself when I was younger, my younger self would never ever expect that out to turn out like this.
Was there a moment that kind of shifted? Sorry, tell me more.
I think it was just really gradual. Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that when I was like 18 to 20, my dream at that point was to get married by 24, have 2 kids before I'm 30, and then just be a housewife. Just stay at home. Take care of my kids. And then I'm like reaching my mid-30s, completely not that dream anymore. But then I'm glad that life took me on several paths. Can you imagine? So yeah.
I feel like I definitely, I think a lot of us had the same dream because it was what we were taught, right? We were taught like, the society and everyone seems to be doing that, so that must be the right way to be an adult. And then along the way as well, it's slowly, as I'm going through my 20s, I was like, nah, not now. Now. And I'm like, okay, wait, you're 30, but still a not now. And I'm like, maybe it's not for me, maybe it is, I don't know, but I'm not gonna impose any sort of like timeline because it's what I'm supposed to do, you know.
No, definitely not. I'm still waiting for the instinct to kick in at some point if it does.
Was there any like a like
shifting point?
Yes.
I think probably when I started to travel. So not big ones, but I only started traveling when I started working. So that was in my early 20s. And then I would just do like short trips in Thailand or Laos, Cambodia, the usual nearby countries. But every time I meet people there, everyone's traveling for years or like at least 1 year. And then I'm the only one there like, oh no, I'm only here for 1 week, 2 weeks. And then that just made me feel a bit envious or jealous. Also because when I was growing up or like when I was in uni, I felt like almost all my friends had a chance to study overseas, and I couldn't, and I was just like, I want to study in Malaysia. So it's just small things like that that was just in my mind, and
Yeah.
then that developed into, I think I need to go out on my own. And then once I did that for the first time, then I realized, okay, I really want this from now on.
What I decided to do that whole the travel thing, like how old were you, and like was there a moment you just like, oh, I just want to do it, I just want to travel?
The hitchhiking thing, that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So for that hitchhiking trip, again, yeah, earlier that year I was in Pai in Thailand, and yeah, I was only there for 2 weeks, and everyone else was for years. And so when I got back to Malaysia, I was like, okay, I would really like to do long-term traveling, but I don't have the finances. And I started to get really annoyed at the concept of money. I was just like, what is this money nonsense? What is different currencies? Why is ours like not very strong? And like, we're the only things alive, the only living beings on earth who's worshipping these pieces of paper. It's actually worth nothing. And I just got really angry. And so I started Googling about, how do you travel without money? And then obviously I come across these sites of people who are hitchhiking, of people who are dumpster diving, and I just found it really inspirational. Of, that sounds really exciting. I want to do that. Can I even do that? Can I survive that? And then I realized the way to find out is to actually do it. And also because every time someone, they would be like, you're so stupid. You know, you could die when you hitchhike. And then things like that just made me even more stubborn. I'm going to prove to you that just because I'm a woman and I'm hitchhiking, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to get raped. And so I'm going to do this. So but it wasn't like a long process. I think from the moment I thought about it to when I left, it's maybe like 1-2 months later.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, a lot of my trips are honestly very last minute. It just pops in my head. And then I know myself. I know if I have and I need to do it. And if not, then it's just going to haunt me. So I'm like, okay, if I already thought about it, I'm just going to talk. So,
Wow.
Ticket.
how did your like, because I guess Asian family, right? So how did your family react? How was it?
So you don't tell the truth. I didn't tell them the full truth. So I just told them to Europe. And then my buddies, they kind of used to me traveling on my own. But of course, hitchhiking is just so out there, right? So it's best to say anything. I'm going to go to Europe. And my mom's asking, do that? You don't even have much savings. You're going to, So I don't know. I'll just find the chances. So once I went there, and then I started to get good stories. People who picked me up and they were kind. And only then, like maybe a month or so later, then I came forward with the truth of just like, okay, so actually, I've been hitchhiking. Well, people have been really nice. And so, thankfully, my parents are also not like typical Asian parents, so they've never forced any certain lifestyle on me. They let me make my own choices, like my own studies. So this as well, they were just like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm entirely happy with this, but I'm just gonna trust you, and I'm gonna trust God, and I'm gonna pray for you, and we believe that you're gonna be fine. Like, okay. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so important. I think the trust, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think every time I think of what I put my mother through, or like my parents, I feel like they must be stressed out. I'm just praying a lot because I'm forever not around. So a lot of times in places where I don't have internet, so I can't even let them know. Can I imagine what it's like to have kids who are just nowhere?
But I remember like having this conversation with one of my mom's friends, and same lah, sometimes when my mom be like questioning my choices, and also like when I started traveling a little bit, I think my first solo travel as well, and she was worried. And then I remember my mom's best friend told her, "You, mom's best friend to my mom, she said, you need to trust your the education, the principal values you have
Yeah,
taught to your daughter, and you have to trust
that's
your
true.
teaching." It's like, wow.
Wow.
It's not
Your
like you have
mom
to
got a
trust
good
your
best
daughter. I
friend.
know she does. Schooling there.
Yeah.
She's not very like, yeah, but like, wow, I feel like I really owe her a lot to help mom kind of go
Mm,
through and like really think it from a different perspective,
that's
and to like
true.
check and like, yeah, kind of like check in with her
Yeah.
and then keep her in check, Yeah. So, but and I
Mm,
feel that also you must have done a lot as a daughter to have gained that trust from your parents, right?
mm. I guess it's very good daughter. I haven't really bad one. But yeah, they also just kind of, because when I was younger, I felt they were super strict.
Mm.
But then when I got older, I hit my test, started going to uni and all that, I could really feel they were just like, okay, more and more freedom. And so I
Mm.
think the trust that I feel from them, I also feel that I need to prove that I do deserve that trust and not
Yes.
abuse it. Yeah. So
Yes.
it's just a
Yes.
constant thing. And
Mm.
then, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like as I grow older, because we always like, when I was younger, I was like, oh, mom, you need to trust me and trust me. But it's really a
Mm,
two-way thing where you have to also be accountable with your parents and tell them like, hey,
mm,
this is what I'm up to, and this is what I'm doing now, and you can come if you would like to, to check out, like, so at
mm,
least they know what you're doing and they're kind of in
yeah.
the loop,
That's,
yeah, so you kind of
yeah. So
build
even just
the
imagine
foundation.
other things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
Did you feel like
yeah.
you learning womanhood, was it from the parents, or was it from like the churches, or from like through friendship, like how was it growing as a woman in your
Mm.
mid 30s now?
I would say definitely the older I get, the more I appreciate women 100%.
Mm.
When I was younger, I think a lot of us were, but definitely when I was younger, she's like, oh, I want to be one of the boys, or the boys are cool, I want to hang out with the cool boys.
Mm.
But then when you grow older, she's like, no, go away, you silly boys. I want to hang out with my girlfriends. um, but yeah, because I feel a lot of times when I'm feeling my lowest, or like when I need emotional support or just any kind of support, you tend to go to your girlfriends.
Mm.
And even a lot of times when I travel, if I'm feeling like down or empty for a while, and then I suddenly meet this bunch of women that I get with, then I'll realize,
Mm.
this is what I've been missing. So yeah, it's
Mm.
and then with my with my mom as well. Again, I think with motherhood, that's something you appreciate the older you get, because then you realize what it feels like to be a woman, and you can somehow imagine what it would be like with a daughter, much they've actually sacrificed and put themselves through. And yeah, I realized my mom's strength of, again, yeah, like trusting me, or she's never really even raised her voice, like really yelled at me. She always spoke to me nicely, and I realized like how much patience that takes. Or she, my
Mm.
dad, never ever fight in front of us, all that sort of things, which is,
Wow.
it's not like in your face teachings, but it's just when I watch them, I realize, wow, these people are proper adults who know how to handle their emotions maturely,
Wow.
wisely. Yeah.
That must not be
So
easy, man, for anyone to
no.
have that, right? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
So
So
I, I
like I
feel
know I have
like,
some friends who say, oh, sorry.
hmm? No, no, go ahead.
No, I
You
know
have some
some
friends?
friends who they would say, yeah, some friends say, oh, I'm so scared of growing into my mother or turning out like my mother. But
Mm.
I'm happy that I've never felt that. And I was just like, oh, I'm completely fine right now. my mother. It's just that I'll be a version who brings my kids to music festivals and stuff. But everything else in terms of like upbringing and things, I'm like, yeah, my mother is great.
Yeah. I feel that,
Mm,
man. Like I feel
mm,
like
mm.
just like I enjoy like the perspective of being a woman, you know, like if ever I become like a mother, I feel like I have so much love to give and so many kind of like
Yeah.
experience I wanna like bring to them or experience with them. It'll be so much fun.
Yes. Yeah,
But
I know. I think that is the one reason why I think I would want to become a mother, because
mm,
it's an experience that I cannot imagine. So
mm.
the only way is to have this
True,
child and to
go
feel
true.
this love,
Yeah.
because it's a love that you will never ever experience with anyone else. So, yes.
Speaking of like experience, can you share one great experience, one like
Mm,
horrible one from a perspective of a woman during your
mm,
travels?
yeah. Um, I think a lot of times people assume that traveling alone and female is not very wise or scary or anything, but I feel in general, sometimes can be easy, especially when it comes to things like hitchhiking,
Mhm.
because you get a lot more help from people, everyone. Like even someone like a mother with a child,
Mm.
she would stop for me, whereas
Mm.
she wouldn't have stopped for me, possibly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, just like people have no fear to try and help you. There's no threat. I think yeah, that's what I realized. If you're Asian and you're female and you're by yourself,
Oh.
you're zero threat. Once she's ready, like, hey miss, you need some help. And then
Right.
yeah,
Oh,
so
I
then they also just have like no comms bringing you back to their house to meet their kids and everything, and then you just end up playing with this kid for the rest of the day. And yeah, so things like that are it's nice. I've also been brought back, like this guy, he wanted me to meet his mom because his mom couldn't understand why he likes to travel. And this was in India. I took to bring back to meet his mom so that he can show the mom. At least I'm not as drastic as her hitchhiking around. I'm just riding around India with my bike. So
He brought you back to be the worst example.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, hello auntie, yeah, you should let your son travel. It's really nice, it's very safe.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Um, bad. There's definitely been bad ones as well. Um, I think so there was one time I was in Istanbul, and I was just walking around wondering about. This guy comes along and he's just, oh, where you are? You should chat. He seemed like, oh, are you hungry to eat? We went to eat. So we went for a beer. And I was just like, oh, I need to grab something in my hotel room. Do you accompanying a bit? I'm just gonna, and then we can out again. So I was like, yeah, fine. I didn't really wanna with him, but at the same time, I felt rude. Or after drinks and bye, ciao, because
Mm-mm.
he just paid for drinks and it's like, yeah, fine, I'll just go along with this fella. So we went to the hotel room, and then the moment we got room, then he like put his hand around my, and so I was like, okay, so I push it off. I got out, went to the door. I went to the door, he came up and he ran, he slammed the door shut. He just like, and then he grabbed me. And at that point, oh shit. So he grabbed me and then he threw me on the bed, and I was like, please stop this. And then he's like, no, obviously you want this, obviously you wanna hang out with me more, you said yes to coming back to my room. And I said, yeah, I said yes to coming back to the room to just like grab something. I don't want this. And he continued the whole thing of just like, oh, obviously you want this thing. And in my head I was just like, you just walked right into a rape situation. How did you how did you end up here?
Mm.
And then so he still kept like trying to do whatever, and I was like, okay, can you just relax a little bit? Why don't you have a cigarette, and then after that we can have sex? And then he was just like, yeah, okay. So he leans back, he lights his cigarette, and that's when I got up again. I ran and I opened the door, and he grabbed me from behind, but I screamed. I don't think I've ever screamed like that.
Wow.
Curdling shriek. And then immediately everyone in the hotel just like, I saw doors open, like pop, pop, pop. Like this, the hotel guards like ran up the stairs, and obviously at that point he had to let go because people were looking. So he let go, and then I ran off. After that, the hotel guys were trying to ask me what happened as well, and I just like, I couldn't even say anything. I just ran out on the street. And that haunted me for days. Like every time I close my eyes, I would see his eyes. Like could see his like evil eyes staring. You know his intention, and you know what's gonna happen. You can just like. And then I also wasn't able to talk about it for a long time because I felt ashamed. One of those, oh, I should have known better. I could feel it. I could feel that he wanted it. I should have, walked away at some point. Maybe I should have run off when he wasn't looking, when we were still downstairs. Like all those, I should have. And so because of the embarrassment, I didn't talk about it for a long time until finally I did. And then now, obviously, I'm fine with talking about it. But yeah, so that was just really, once I got over it, I was just very frustrated or angry at how I was so angry at myself for so long. And I realized we do that all the time. We always just blame ourselves. And also another thing I learned from that probably, which I still am struggling with, is how to not be nice when you really don't want to be nice. Because a lot of times you get in these situations because you're like, this guy's a dick. I really want to just don't get out here. But then you don't want to be that bitch. You don't want to offend him. And so you're just like, and then because of that, then you end up getting into this real, even like bigger mess. So yeah, just learning how to probably be like rude when necessary. If you don't want to be nice at that point because you know the person really isn't nice, just don't be nice. But yeah, it's a lesson that I'm still trying to control. Have the power
hey,
over.
Katrina, I real talk, that has happened to me before as well. Same thing. Like I replay it in my head and thinking that like it's my fault for walking into a situation that could have allowed myself to be vulnerable or violated. But the truth really is that like we wouldn't know until we are actually in that situation. You know, like it could, I mean, but if like that guy was decent, it could have been real. He could have just gone back, grabbed something, and then you guys are out. It could have been that, but you didn't know. And likewise for me as well, in the situation that I was placed in, like I didn't know. And only when you're in that situation, you're like, oh shit, like how do I get out of this? And if any girls out there, and there were times, I mean, just real talk, that I didn't get out of it. I went with it because I was like, oh, maybe I'm okay with it. And I was like, okay. And then you go with it. And then you think back and you're like, wait, that didn't feel right. That didn't feel right. Like, why does it feel that way? But at that moment, I thought it was okay. And this is the part I feel like females, we don't really talk about it because we feel ashamed that it feels like we were the stupid ones who have walked into the situation. But the truth is that you really wouldn't know. You wouldn't know until you're in that situation. And even when you're in that situation, you're confused and you don't want to be like that lame person. And it's not even like lame. You're just like, okay, maybe I'm okay with it. And then after things happen, whether it's sexual or not, and then you realize that, wait, I wasn't.
Yeah. It's
And I feel like we need to just speak more of this with our girlfriends
mm,
and have a space where we, like, this shit happens to so many of us, and it's okay that it
yeah.
happened to you. It's not your fault. You couldn't have known better. You were never in that
Mm,
situation before. It
mm,
is not your fault. It is not.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
And I think that same lesson with me as well. It is only through these situations that I learn to know where my power is, and that you have more
mm,
power than you think you have. Even though in that moment, in that situation, you feel powerless because the
mm,
intention of the other person is so strong that you're here and their energy is here and you're here. So
yeah.
if you're hesitant,
Yeah.
you could just kind of like ease into it and things happen, and you
Mm,
know. So I think the
that's true.
important
Yeah.
lesson here that I think you and I, now that we're older, is
Mm,
that to learn from, there's nowhere else but through it, right? You learn from it, and then
mm,
you have, like, we have to now learn to be more vocal about what we're
for
comfortable
sure.
and not comfortable
Yes.
with.
Yeah.
And if you're a bitch
Yeah.
about it, then be a bitch about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And especially don't put their comfort above ours. Like, we're already feeling uncomfortable, but we don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. So we go along with
Yes.
our discomfort, which makes zero sense. Why would you do that? Because they don't give a shit. They don't care at all. And then
Yeah.
we are just like, yeah. And then after that, feel completely disgusting and filthy and just like, oh, why did I do that? So, yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
don't know whether it's a female thing that or it's just maybe a personality thing, that sometimes some of us are just kind of, we adapt a bit easier. So then we're kind of trying to
Yeah.
adapt to the situation so it's not too
Yes.
awkward or
We
whatever,
just,
you know?
yeah, we just don't want conflict. Yeah, don't want that awkwardness, which is like it's already very awkward for me now. But then you don't
Mm.
want him to feel awkward. So like, why are we so always just trying to like pacify the man? Or
Because
why?
I feel
Yeah,
like,
it's like
and maybe it's also a conditioning as a woman, like from young, you're like, oh,
mm,
it's we're slightly like more timid. We didn't really kind of, not really taught. Like, we were always taught to avoid situations, but not to
yes.
voice out a no.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
not told, like, okay, if you're not comfortable,
You're
say
not
no.
taught confrontation. Yeah.
Yes, confrontation.
Mm,
That's it.
yes. Yeah. That's why we're so uncomfortable with confrontation. It's just like, how do I like go around this without actually saying it, what I want to say?
Hmm,
And,
I totally
but
agree.
so that's definitely something that I feel we should start changing and teaching our girls. Say
Yes.
no, you're ready.
Yeah. And also, I feel like another
Yeah.
important point is that in any sort of pursuing of romantic or sexual, like, the person who wants to initiate it, whether you're a man or a woman,
Mm,
needs to constantly check in, even though it might kill the vibe, to like, hey,
yes.
are you okay with this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and and then if the person is like, then back the hell away.
Yes.
Just, if
Exactly.
someone is
Yeah.
not sure, then just like, okay, we don't have to. But it
Mm,
really applies to both men and female. Like, I mean, we will say this, like,
yeah.
teach your guys, teach your boys how to um
Mm,
how to check in, which is very important. Men, if you're watching this, or if you have, or women, if you have sons or you have brothers, like,
mm,
speak to them. It's so important to constantly check in with your partner
yeah.
or the person you're interested in. Like, are you
Mm,
okay? Are you okay with
yeah.
this?
Mm,
And for any of us to just, like, if you're not, just say you're not.
yeah. Yeah.
If you might
Because when it comes to
feel,
things like this, if you're not 100% in, just don't be in.
yes,
Mm,
yes.
yeah. Mm,
So I started also, I feel like it's the same situation. So I started doing this thing where I um write down uh and it's painful. Write down situations that I was in that was not comfortable, but I went with it, and then I write about the experience, and I write about like what I really wanted to say, or ideally would have done.
Yeah.
And
that's
and I
good.
don't know, yeah, and hopefully that will like teach me to be more daring about my honesty to myself,
Yeah.
and being okay with saying it, even though it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to reteach myself that
Yeah.
again.
It's a good exercise. I'm gonna start doing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, enough about me. Okay, when things were really bad, was
Yeah.
there like how did you have like the mental or kind of like an inner strength to carry on? Was there like how was it? How did you move on when things were bad?
For situations like that, I see, like when I finally told friends about it, they're more of just like, oh, you need to fly home now. You should end the trip. You should just come back. But to me, firstly, I know I would regret just flying home. But also secondly, I don't want the story to end there. I don't want it to end with like some crappy ending involving piece of shit human being. I'm gonna decide when this chapter ends. This chapter is not ending now, and I know obviously that this is just a one-off thing. Yeah, it's just a one-off thing.
Yes.
It's very unfortunate that it happened, but hey, you know what? Now you have another to add to your book or whatever. So just like it happened, it's fine. You will be fine as you have been, and yeah, just get on with it. And then 90% of the time things are great. So just gonna tell yourself that.
So was like were your friends who like how was it that you cope with it? Was it speaking to your friends from home?
Yeah,
or
when I finally like this one, I think maybe I finally told them maybe like a month later or something. But then what I realized once I started to just talk about it and normalize it, then it just became more of a like, yeah, okay, it happened. I definitely felt a lot better than to just keeping secrets. Are just not nice a lot of times. So yeah, once it's just out there, then
I feel you. It's like so important to be able to share these experiences, because it's more normal and frequent. It happens to so many women and men than we think.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to be ashamed about. Like we just couldn't have known better. So definitely, like speak to people for sure.
Yeah, actually, almost every time, whoever that I tell, and like, with you as well, they will say, actually, the same thing has happened to me, which is so shit that it just happens.
It's
Oh
so
my,
shit.
everyone. But
It's so shit.
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But do you miss home? Like in moments like that, do you just like, I wish I was home?
Oh yeah, sure, definitely. A lot of times I just like, I wish I'm back home. But I can also always remind myself how fortunate it is that I'm not at home and I'm somewhere else doing whatever I'm doing. So when I go home, I'll appreciate home, but then when I'm away, just also appreciate being away instead of wishing back home.
Yeah, like throwing in a present, right? Yeah. But tell me more like about when you were back home. Like how was the adjustment from traveling to being back? And like
actually not at all. I think because that trip was like a long one and a challenging
as in the previous one?
That
How long was
the
it?
hitchhiking one. 13 months? Just over a year.
A year.
13 months?
Oh, 13 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So because that was just it's just so long, so drooling, and towards the end I was like so just being home comforts. I can drive my own car. I can work again. I can afford to buy a slice of cake if I want to. Like just doing whatever I want. And I think after that, I actually lived a good life for quite a bit. Like I really just enjoyed the city life. I went for music festivals to Thailand and stuff like that. Just enjoying everything that I could as a city person with a job. So adjusting back at that point actually wasn't hard. I was happy just to be back with my family and friends and be normal.
I think it's like that's most I hear this quite a lot from some of my friends who travel or live in different places. Yeah, because I was like, oh, it's so different. Like the life must kind of be like a shock, like switching. And they're like, I think it's the same thing. A friend of mine as well said the same thing. You just gotta like embrace what it is at that point, and then when you shift the environment, and then just kind of make the best of where you are and like enjoy the like to the fullest of where you're at, right?
Yeah. And also one thing I realized after that trip is that I appreciate Malaysia so much more, because we always compare Malaysia to like the UK or the US, and then in comparison to that, our currency is so weak. We don't have this, we don't have that. Our education system is not as great. But then there's so many other parts of the world that is doing even less great. And when you see that, you realize how fortunate we are in the way we get to live back home. Like our country is really beautiful. We have a lot of things, even in terms of scenery. When people tell me, oh, this beach is really nice, and I go there, what? Because I'm thinking of the beaches back home. The beaches back home are so beautiful that a lot of other places are kind of pale in comparison, really. So my expectations are already that high, which I never realized until I left the country, and I realized that we have a lot of things a lot better as well. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, if you and like appreciating, so your lessons, you feel like from traveling, you really appreciated the the identity that you come from,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, I feel like you sometimes
Like
just
now I really wish I speak now I
speak
really
what?
wish I could speak Chinese. It's
Oh,
Chinese. But I can't speak Chinese.
oh,
which
right.
which is a shame. Yeah, because when you're younger, I was just like, nah, I don't need to learn how to speak Chinese, but now it's just such a shame.
Right. I think when you're younger, you want to reject everything that you're from and just want to do things that you're not. But now when you're
Yeah.
older, you're like, oh, wait, wow. It's like for me as well, like now I'm away from home. I'm like, I wish I learned like my mom's recipe. I know it's not too late. I know my mom's watching this. She's like, oh, when you come back now, you're gonna cook. But there are times where I'm like, oh, I really wish I actually did look at it from a different perspective. It's like, oh, this is a recipe or something that is like culturally from like my mom or my grandma and or my great grandmother, and it's been passed down.
Yeah.
And you want to still don't break that chain, right, of culture and
Yeah.
passing on traditions. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
only understood that also only maybe a few years ago, like of the importance of that, like the traditions and the culture and the identity.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But
Like I
okay,
said, never too late.
what? Yeah, I know. Same
Yeah.
lah to you. Go learn Chinese.
Yeah.
Go learn Mandarin. Gonna you back.
That's right.
Okay, I have a question. For
Yes.
people who are watching this and they're like questioning like how do you do this? Is there any tips? Maybe give me like two or three tips of to the girls out there who want to live their dream, or like what are the tips you have for them?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, one thing that I always tell myself if I think of something and then I hesitate to do it is that I think of my deathbed, or at least if that's too grim, then like think of when you're 90 years old. If you look back, is this dream that I'm thinking of now, how significant does it seem? Do you think you would you regret it? Is it and 90 will be like, no, it's fine, I didn't do it. Or if it's like, oh, I really should have done that. If you feel like the regret is going to be strong, then you 100% need to do it because you don't want to regret that at the end of your life. So I think that is often quite a drive. What else do I? And then I don't like sharing my dreams immediately, or at least I would choose who I tell. So I feel like a lot of times we don't do what we want to do because you tell someone and then they're like, oh, don't do that. So if you have a hit and you think it's outrageous, don't share it with people who you think they will already say no, or people who just maybe wouldn't be very supportive of it. Go and look for like-minded people, and then they will encourage you, and you'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll go and do it. Just keep it to yourself, and then only share it with people who you know will also be excited for you. Because if not, then the naysayers will come in and they'll get in your head, and you'll be like, okay, actually, I'm just not gonna do that.
I like that. Choosing the right group of people to share a certain information.
Yeah,
definitely important.
Yeah.
And before that, your point was, if you were to think of it, like if you died, would you have regretted that?
Because I was thinking not doing something, the haunt of not doing something is greater than if you just did it and it didn't work out. Because when you don't do something, you're haunted by all the what ifs, what if I did this, what if I could have been this, could have been that. So
I feel you.
Don't see how it goes.
I feel you. Next question. What would a Petrina today tell a full Petrina? And that's the first question. And the second one is, if you wanted to write to the Petrina 10 years later, what would you say to her? So let's go back first.
Okay. But I guess I wouldn't want to change anything in my past. But then if I could just say something, I'll probably tell her to don't worry so much about not being a popular kid in high school, because honestly, high school poppy means nothing. High school success means nothing. All the popular boys in high school, when they grow up, completely fail. So you're not missing out on anything at all. Don't worry about it. The life from here on, after 15, only gets better, 100%. So just chill out. It's fine with life now. It's like bland, but it just gets better by the year. So
love.
And then what was the other one? To my future
Next
self.
one is 10 years later from here.
I don't know if I will have any advice from older self, because I think that would help then, but I'll maybe just ask her or hope that Petrina would still be dancing and traveling and doing things that you can find passion and pleasure in. So just don't become boring. Just do things. Don't let age stop you from doing things either, because don't compare yourself to like an 18-year-old, because that's like just look at their lifestyle. Just do what you want to do.
Just do your thing, man. Love. I love them both. Love them both. Okay, last question. Do you think, through like everything they've gone through, all this traveling, do you think you found yourself, or do you think there's no such thing, and that like it's more important to know who you are right now? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think I found myself, and I don't think also that you can find yourself. I think you can know yourself better, but I believe you're constantly evolving and growing and changing. So I think what we're doing is just we are constantly creating and molding ourselves to be better, to be stronger. So because when you find yourself, that's like the end goal, but there never will be an end goal, so you're constantly just changing. Yeah, but I think there will always be a lot of things about myself that I still don't understand, but I definitely know myself better now, what I like and what I don't like.
Yes.
And yeah, just how I deal with things. It's now I think I probably maybe have more wisdom and clarity to, even if I'm good, being able to take myself, I allow myself to feel all those feelings first, cry, whatever, but then I can also allow myself to get out of it, or just look at it from a third person's perspective and be like, okay, now you're feeling this, you're feeling that, and then you just study it properly. It's just like why you are feeling this to make it not, to just clarify my emotions a little bit more, and just that sort of mature thinking.
Yeah. I feel like the same thing. It's like the word finding yourself is not a, it's not a destination, right? It's a journey. It's a continuous journey of finding yourself, and it just goes on. It goes on and on and on. I think one thing that I've learned from our chat today is that don't hold yourself back from the experiences or the potential danger, because it's only through going through situations that you will learn about yourself, what you are comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. And there will be like, don't swear, Maybelline, there will be like shit times, right? But if you don't do it, like, you will never know how you would react and what you like about your reaction or don't like about your reaction.
Exactly.
So
you learn the most from your mistakes. And honestly, I think my biggest mistakes in life have always then just propelled me the other way to have another way cooler thing to override the mistake. Like, if I, like the first time when I went, when I got out of an abusive relationship once, and that just completely like just like tore me apart, and I didn't know who I was, lost all self-worth, But then because of that, I went to America for a year, because I was like, I'm just gonna get out of this country. And then that trip, because that American thing where I went there to be an au pair, that was for a year. And that made me get used to being away for a long period of time. And since then, every year, or like every alternate year, I'll end up leaving the country for a year. So I realized, I think every time I go through something bad, after I'd be like, I'm going to do something better than the bad. And then it ends up being something. So yeah. Bad times are just, it's just something you learn from, really, and then just turn it around. It's just always how you, how you face it after that.
It teaches you more than the good times. It's like so cliche, but it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Oh man, Petrina, it's been so much fun speaking to you. And I like miss you so much. I miss your energy. I miss dancing with you.
Likewise, woman. Likewise. But I will watch the videos that you're gonna put up, and I'm gonna get the other girls here to dance with me.
Yes,
I can do that today.
Please take a video so I can watch it. I can watch you and like watch you dance with everyone. I would love that so much.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll get the girls out.
Yes. Okay, I want to end this with like an advice you have for people who are watching this, for girls who who is scared to do things that they love or want to do. Like, what advice do you have for them?
What haven't I already said?
You can repeat whatever we said. I feel like it's just a strong. I feel like we did that already, but let's bring it back to like to close this. You can repeat it. It's fine. Go for it.
Okay. I believe that all of us have an inner compass that's always just like telling us often what to do or where to go or what, yeah. And I feel like we should listen to that. A lot of times we already know what we want to do. A lot of times we know what path we want to take. And if you really feel that, then I think you should follow it because yeah, if you don't do what you feel like you want to do, like what your heart is telling you to do, and then you look back on it 10 years later and you didn't do that, then it's just like, wait, no, that's
Yeah. That's a good one. I love that.
yeah.
Like listen to your inner compass, right? Your inner voice. I look up to you for that, man. Like when you started traveling, I was like, and the stories that you were sharing, I feel like it was always genuine. It always came from a genuine place. And I think being genuine is something that needs to be practiced, needs to be constantly spending time to listen and to ask yourself questions. And like you said, like
sometimes I don't know what I'm doing either. I think
me too.
A lot of times just like, oh, I feel like doing it, I'll do it, but then I don't know why I'm doing it. There must be a lesson from this.
Yeah. Either ways, you learn something. Either ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no right or wrong decision really.
Yes.
Just whatever you do, be happy with that, and don't look back and wonder what if the other path was. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yes, there's no wrong decisions in life.
I totally agree. Katrina,
yes.
Thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh, thank you.
Hope
you had as much fun as I did. Yeah.
I had so much fun talking to you.
Me too.
Okay. If anyone wants to learn more or know more about your travels, where can they find you?
You can always go to my Instagram at Petrina Nana.
Petrina Nana.
Yeah,
I love that.
Petrina Nana.
Yes, her Instagram handle is at
that's
Petrina Nana. And just check her out, her travels.
Petrina. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's the only social media I'm on. Not yet on TikTok or anything else.
Yeah, no need. That's great. It's great.
No. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Look forward to dancing with you later. My pleasure. It really was.
Ladies and gentlemen, It's a She Thang. I just did a fireside chat with Petrina, a wonderful friend of mine. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. If you have any questions about anything we spoke about, you can either straight out just reach out to either her or to me. I hope that you had an insightful experience with us both. And yeah, we're both happy to have shared our experience with you too. And yeah, let's do this more, like talking about your experiences with girls to really find that, like, I think shared human experience here to me is a key takeaway. Yeah. Anyways, ladies,
shame.
Happy International Women's Day. My name is Maybelline. This is Petrina signing out, giving you all our love. Bye, guys.